ex-players. I'm joined now by Graham Hyde, the Vice Chairman of the Leeds United Supporters Trust. Graham, it has been a tough year, hasn't it, for Leeds?
Mixed emotions is the only way to describe it. Obviously, the celebration of promotion, being back in the Premier League, but such a year tinged with loss for many fans, but also for the great legends of the club that have left us.
In my professional career, I've been fortunate to cover this club throughout over a quarter of a century. And Peter Lorimer, like Norman Hunter as well, you have to say, those sort of players never left the club. Even when they stopped playing, they were involved either in broadcasting or, in Peter's case, luckily, as an ambassador. Who's a face you saw frequently around here.
Definitely, be that pre-match and the meals that they did as part of the hospitality packages. But you can take sort of Peter back to also being landlord of the Commercial, a local pub, in the years sort of through the 90s. So he's definitely been a fabric of the city. He played for us twice, left and came back, and really just has been part of the fabric of this football club, part of the furniture in a really positive sense for so many years.
Nicknamed Hot Shot, 238 goals. He made keepers quake in the boots somewhat, didn't he?
I think, to be fair, I'd pity any goalkeeper who was facing a shot. I think the highest registered sort of penalty was 107 miles an hour. So that's a fair old shot. I wouldn't have wanted to be facing that.
Just put it into context for people that perhaps aren't familiar with that era, the esteem and reverence that, you've got Billy Bremner's statue behind you as well. That group of players were held in during that time.
How do you describe a team that were ultimately the best in Europe, arguably the best club side in the world at that particular era? It's part of what's created the legend around Leeds United, and those players were intrinsic to it. They were a key to it. Whether you take somebody like Lasher's goals, whether you take sort of bite your legs, his sort of hard tackling, Billy Bremner in the heart of the midfield, right the way through to kind of Sniffer Clark and the goals. There was just so many key players that formed the history that is Leeds United now.
Well, I've heard from Paul Robinson on Sky Sports News this morning. He was part of the David O'Leary team that got all the way to the Champions League semi-final. But even now, with Liam Cooper's statements we've heard on Twitter, they all hark back to that 70s team, whether they were part of the club or not. They know about every player, Peter Lorimer included.
I think it's been, perhaps a heavy weight for some players. We always talk about Leeds United as having players that can come here, but not everybody can play for Leeds United. And part of that is down to that history, down to the legends that were of that era. Something to aspire to, as many have done, be that sort of Paul Robinson and the O'Leary era. Whether you think about the promotion team under Bielsa, everybody has aspired to be the next generation of legends, to sit alongside Peter, Norman, Jack, etc.
And of course, it's been over a year now since fans were allowed inside Elland Road, but when they do get back inside, so many memories to share, so many stories to talk to everyone about. How will Leeds United as a football club, and the fans specifically, show their tribute to these greats?
I think there will be lots and lots of tributes made. As a club, I know that the club are planning that when we can all be back in the stadium, that there will be some sort of recognition of the legends that have passed. As a supporters trust, we are planning a mural that will be incorporating all four of those that have sadly left us from that era. We're hoping to get started work once planning permissions granted in the next few months. So the fans will be making their tributes, the club will be making their tributes. We can't possibly let this pass.
Graham Hyde, thanks for the time from Leeds United Supporters Trust. Without doubt, the passing of Peter Lorimer, like Norman Hunter, Trevor Cherry, Jack Charlton before him, all leaving massive gaping holes for everybody associated with this football club today.
Yeah, thanks, Richard.